Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 324. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Matt.
Hey, what's up, people?
Believe it or not, Connor was almost on this episode.
I don't believe you.
He was almost here, and the only reason why he's not is because he did have the day off, but then he had to take other days off earlier in the week to go to the hospital, so he is not
What
here.
did he do now?
I mean, it wasn't. He needed to see the doctor. His doctor was busy, so they sent him to the hospital.
Gotcha.
So it's not like
Another dog attack?
no dog attack. No, nothing dire.
Did the cat get him?
As far as I know, I hope so. But yeah, the kitten's ruining his life right now. But he was very nearly on this episode, and then it snatched away at the last second. But hey, he will return someday, some way, somehow.
Say that like a threat.
So yes, as a DC Comics podcast, we get together, we talk about the comics we read this week, and coming up on this week's show, we'll be talking about Batman, One Bad Day, Two-Face issue 1, Nightwing 96, The Flash 786, Batman Superman World's Finest issue 7, Batman the Night issue 9, DCeased War of the Undead Gods issue 2. And that's it. That wraps everything up. No Black Adam. It turns out both of us had decided independently to
Ran out of time. I did not.
For me, it's just like there's things I like about it, but like I always seem to have this problem with Christopher Priest writing, and I always feel this weird churn to it when I'm trying to read it monthly.
That's how. So I started reading it last night right before bed, and he was just throwing the names at us, and I was like, I can't comprehend this right now, and then just didn't have time to go back to it this morning. But you're right. There's a certain style that he writes in that. I'm trying to think. It's very deliberate, right? Like, yeah. So, well, eventually I'll get back to it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool. But yeah, so as the books are coming up on today's show, there's one little bit of news as well. But yeah, so we'll get into all of that. But there's always time for a ComiXology top 10. Matt's favorite segment.
You're gonna forget.
Everyone's favorite segment.
So yes, dumb, don't forget.
Yeah, so we'll look at the top 10 of the books that came out on Tuesday, which is DC's books, of course, which is basically means it's just a DC top 10.
Right.
So Matt, what do you think was the number one DC book as of right now on ComiXology?
I'm gonna go Nightwing.
That is incorrect.
All right. So the second guess, and the reason I didn't go number one is because of the price, is the Batman Two-Face special.
That is incorrect.
Wow, my goodness, I know nothing.
Actually, the number one right now is Batman Superman World's Finest, issue 7.
Hey, let's get it, Mark Waid.
Yeah, that's not too bad, is it?
Yeah.
Number 2 is Nightwing, issue 96. Okay. Number 3 is DCeased, which, Tom Taylor, prints money now, apparently.
True.
And then number 4 is Batman One Bad Day, Two-Face. Number 5 is Dark Crisis Young Justice, which is obviously the tie-in miniseries. I think that's issue 4 that's on. Number 6 is The Flash 786. Number 7 is Batman the Night, issue 9. Number 8 is DC vs. Vampires All Out War. Number 9 is Titans United Blood Pact, which is the start of the miniseries. And then number 10 is Black Adam, issue 4. And then once you go outside of that, you see Fables, you see Catwoman, which is not doing too hot right now, if it can't keep up with some of those other books. But then just some trades and other things that's sticking out here. The Harley Quinn 30th anniversary specials at number 12, which that's a $10 book, so that maybe affects that. That said, though, and in the past, some of these anniversary issues are breaking records for sales figures, so maybe it just shows that DC have maybe milked the anniversary special a little too much over the last few years, and the mystique has worn off. But
they also celebrate Harley a lot. Like,
that's true.
I feel like she just got a big special like this, so people might be out on that.
That's true. But yeah, honestly, it was a healthy week of books for DC, I think. I've got a lot of positive thoughts to share later on, so I'm excited to get to all those. But yeah, so we'll have a quick peek at Wednesday and see how the rest of the comics are doing. See what Marvel and maybe some of the bigger indies are up to. So, what do you think the number one book was from the rest of the pack?
I'm gonna go because I see it here. I'm gonna say Axe Judgment Day 5.
That is indeed correct. That is the number one comic in ComiXology right now for the books released on Wednesday. Number 2 is Exterminators, issue 1 of 5. Number 3 is New Mutants, issue 30. Number 4 is Avengers, issue 60, which I'm noticing is Mark Russell. When did Aaron finish?
Not a clue. I am shocked.
That must have been recently, because I feel like I was still seeing his name on these for quite some time. Number 5 is Legion of X, issue 5. Number 6 is Fantastic Four, issue 47. Number 7 is Vanish, issue 1, which is the Donny Cates indie book. I think it's Image that's come from. Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman on that book. So.
Okay. Seems like an instant buy, but for most people.
Yeah, interesting to see it on superhero books squeaking on. It's always nice, just for variety's sake. Avengers Forever, issue 9, which is Jason Aaron. So did he just switch over to another Avengers book?
Yeah, so he did. That was a tie-in for the Axe event. He was on issue 59 of Avengers.
Oh, really? So okay.
Yeah, so I'm going through. I'm gonna see if he's on 61. Maybe that might have been.
Oh, just a fill-in.
It might have just been.
Yeah,
it might have just been a fill-in because it's a Hawkeye specific issue. Yeah. So it's like a one-off.
And it's also tying into something, judging from the big banner at the top of it.
Yeah. So let's go to 61 and see if Aaron's name comes back. Untold Secrets. Yep, and Jason Aaron's back, so it's just a one-off.
That's just a tie-in. He's just skipping an issue. Okay. False alarm then, I guess. Then we got X-Men Unlimited, X-Men Green, issue 2 of 2.
What is with all these colors of the X-Men?
I don't know.
I got blue and gold. That made sense. But now green?
For Polaris? Green Trust? I'm trying to think of Green X-Men.
Yeah, I mean... I don't know, Sauron's on there, the pterodactyl dude.
Sure, he's kind of, he's green. Okay.
Yeah, he's green, but I don't know, that's Jerry Duggan, so... I don't know, but Wolverine's on the cover, so we're back. I feel like we're back in the 90s, where it's Bat and X books, and then Batman and Wolverine on every cover. So it's how funny time is.
Yeah. Number 10 is Strange, issue 6. So that is the top 10 for Wednesday. Darth Vader just missed the top 10, as did Edge of the Spider-Verse book. Looking for some non-Marvel stuff, just for some variety's sake. Number 13 is Berserker, which is the Keanu Reeves written book. You know?
The only times I've almost bought that based off the fact that the guy looks like a Viking and it's Keanu. I just never pulled the trigger.
Probably many times, knowing you. And then there's a Creepshow issue 1 at number 15.
I bought that. I haven't read it yet. It's got a Paul Dini story. But R.L. Stine also put out a similar book. The shop, the guy that works at the shop recommended, because he knows I like the Fear Street trilogy last year. And said it was very up there with that. So that's on my list for when I get back. But yeah, a lot of fun stuff.
That's cool. Right, that's cool. I know we've been sort of toying with the idea of looking at some non-DC books occasionally in a segment. But nothing here, obviously. These already came out. But
do you still have that open to see where Stuff of Nightmares was?
I can check. Yeah. Stuff of Nightmares was actually just behind that at number 16.
Okay. Nice.
That's the that's right. That's the R.L. Stine book. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I got that one. I pulled Creepshow just because it was right there. I didn't even know R.L. Stine had a book out. But growing up on Goosebumps and Fear Street and stuff, I think it's cool that they're using his name, almost like his nostalgia, but it does carry a certain weight.
I do kind of I like the cover of Stuff of Nightmares. Actually, it's got a kind of a pulp vibe to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, not too bad. All right, well there you go. There's your top 10 from ComiXology this week. Hope you all enjoyed it. Your favorite segment will be back next week. Don't worry.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah. Well, I am taking a week off next month, so there will be 1 week with no ComiXology top 10 at the very least.
So Pete, does that mean no show for that week?
It does not mean no show.
Oh.
What we're going to do, I wasn't going to talk about this week, but since we brought it up,
Oh.
yeah, so what's going to happen is I'm taking a week off for the first time since this show started in 2016. So what's going to happen is there'll be no regular episode that week that I'm away, but we'll record in advance a Q&A episode or something like that, so that there's still something going out that week. And any big books from the week that I'm away, we'll come back and talk about them in the following episode. And some of the smaller books will just wait until the next issue.
That's going to be the 1 week where that Connor's not working on a Saturday.
Connor's going to be available.
It's going to be so funny. Yeah, it's going to be so funny.
He's going to show
I don't blame you. You can't trust either me or him to record anything.
I mean, I think Connor would know how to record, but it would be it would be a headache dealing with all the other back end stuff. So we'll do it the easy way, which is a regular episode, and then back to business as normal the week after. But we'll warn you about what week that's going to be as we're getting closer to it. But it's mid-October. So yes, that's ComiXology Top 10. We'll move on then to the one bit of news that I did see. It's rare to get news right after solicits, but this is something for a little bit down the line. In March, Harley Quinn is getting a new creative team.
Oh, who's it going to be?
It's actually going to be, I don't think we'll be too excited given what else we've also dropped, but Tini Howard is going to be writing the book, and art's going to be Sweeney Boo. So, Stephanie Phillips will end with issue 27 in February, which is actually a 2-year run. So that'll be a nice, round set of time for her. So, obviously, it's not a book that we typically pay too much attention to unless it did get new creators. But you know what? Harley Quinn's obviously we get things like Harleen once in a while that's really exciting and we love that. But the main Harley Quinn book is definitely for a specific audience that I don't think is us, and that's okay.
No. I mean, when Rosmo does the art, it's definitely for Connor.
It's definitely for Connor. I agree. So that was a little real news that was there, but definitely worth mentioning. But no, good stuff. So I watched the last 2 Marvel movies this week, Matt.
Oh, okay. So
yes,
I need to know what you thought of Sam Raimi's Multiverse of Madness.
The odd good moment, but kind of a mess, and I hated that the villain was just outright evil from the start, which felt like a cheap ploy to me.
Yeah, I've had arguments with Alden over this, and he always throws up the dark hold. I'm like, but this kind of undoes everything from WandaVision just to do the story in the movie. And so then it makes WandaVision feel like it doesn't count.
Well, but at the same time, it does count because there's so much references to her wanting her kids in the movies.
Right, but that's it. So everything that she learned from WandaVision just goes out the window because of the Darkhold, and I don't like that.
Yeah, and not to get too into spoilers or anything, but it was kind of weird how you see glimpses of other Wandas and other universes, and there's no vision of any kind. Like, that felt weird to me.
Almost like they couldn't get Paul Bettany back.
Yeah, Paul Bettany was too busy, so I'm not doing Multiverse of Madness.
What'd you think of the Strange at the end, without giving spoilers? A very Sam Raimi version.
Yeah, it was very Sam. I mean, I'm not a big Sam Raimi. That's the thing. I like the Evil Dead trilogy. I don't like Sam Raimi's other movies. I find
but it gets very Evil Dead-y in parts, though, right? Like,
kind of. I mean, there's I always pop for the Bruce Campbell cameo. Like, I'm never going to be upset at that.
Right.
But it's, I don't know. His tone that he tries to put into everything isn't really for me. Like, I think it works in Evil Dead, but I am kind of okay with it not being other things. And as I've gotten older, I've kind of gravitated more towards the first Evil Dead, which is the least like Sam Raimi goofy of the three.
The least, the more straightforward horror version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's very good at the straightforward horror, which is nice about it.
That's why I don't know how you feel about Drag Me to Hell. I quite enjoy it because of that tone.
Not for me.
So, yeah, I do like how it alternates and it plays with expectations.
There's a point where you have your demon or witch lady just puking for like a minute straight that I'm just, this is stupid. I'm not into this.
Yeah, and it makes that stupid stuff makes me laugh. So
no.
It's one of those things where it goes on for too long and it stops being funny, and then it starts being funny again shortly after. So, but I get why it's not for like you. Like your comedy sense is very different than mine. Like, again, when we first started writing and I was editing your stuff, and we disagreed over Jackass Bad Grandpa. Like, you had this super negative review, and I had a very positive review. And I side messaged Pete and was like, bro, is your sense of humor broken? He goes, no, that's not funny. And yeah, that's when I learned.
Oh, it definitely is not.
Yeah. So, but no, and okay, and Love and Thunder?
Better than Doctor Strange. I do think that there was too much comedy. It was a bit self-indulgent. I felt like there was some gags that, because comedy, even in a comedy, the comedy and the joke should advance the plot and like mean something to the character. And we're doing gags with like, the theater performance and stuff again because people liked it. It's a meme now, so that's why we're doing it. I did love the two things I really liked about it. Were the jealousy thing between Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. That was hilarious. And I won't spoil it, but I'll just say there's a big segment towards the end with the kids that I thought was very sweet and worked quite well. But I do not like that you kind of rushes through Jane's whole story and the fact that Gore the God Butcher is in a comedy. I want him to be in a serious movie where it feels like the end of the world.
Yeah. Well, and that's the problem with picking Gore, because Gore's such this big that arc lasted 12 issues.
Yeah.
Like it's a big story.
More importantly to that, Jane's time as Thor and her whole story till the ending was like 3 years or maybe 4 years. I'd have to go back and check, but it was a long time.
We didn't even know she was the mighty Thor.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, it was like a year. Yeah, it was a mystery for a long time who the Thor was. That's right. Yeah.
So, yeah. Would you say that, because you've seen Jojo Rabbit?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say it's kind of the inverse of Jojo Rabbit, where Jojo Rabbit had like this serious tone with comedy, pushed out or peppered throughout to lighten the darkness? I felt like the Love and Thunder was the reverse. That it was comedy with some darkness, but neither of them work as well as he does in Jojo Rabbit.
I can kind of see what you're saying. I think Jojo Rabbit is an outright comedy as well, but it's just always very like every single bit of comedy in that movie has a purpose. It's pointing out some dark thing, or it's addressing some dark thing,
and that's why it makes it a satire, right?
Yeah.
It's putting a spotlight on these other dark themes through the lens of comedy.
Jojo Rabbit, for the record, is a fantastic. I was not big in a lot of Taika Waititi's movies up until that point. Like I liked them well enough, but I wasn't as into them as other people were. Jojo Rabbit's the one that I came out loving. Like I loved that movie. So, so I think Love and Thunder is still just okay. There's stuff in it I genuinely like, which is maybe a bit different to Dark World. Not Dark World. Well, I mean Dark World too, but the Multiverse of Madness. But yeah, so
so far Phase 4 has been hit or miss. It's super choppy, and I like Thor a lot. I understand that the flaws are there, but man, between Multiverse of Madness, like the big movies, hopefully Wakanda Forever sticks whatever landing. I'm very worried about my boy M'Baku, very worried. It's not in the trailer a lot, so
sounds like a first act death to me.
Yeah, I'm so worried about that. But yeah, so far the movies have been kind of super choppy. The show's super choppy. I'm really enjoying She-Hulk and I enjoyed Hawkeye, but the rest of them I'm kind of like, they almost overstay their welcome at points, or like not overstay their welcome. There's like a dip in episodes 3 and 4, and we have to crawl back under. And so far, as a She-Hulk hasn't done that for me.
It's because most of them they're clearly just a movie script that was stretched out into 6 episodes, and the middle chunk's not satisfying as a result. They're not actually written as TV shows properly.
So, but I'm glad you mostly enjoyed Love and Thunder. Seems like you enjoyed it more than you didn't.
Maybe about 6.
So, that's on that side. I would say.
It is, but a 6 to you is like.
Yeah. Come on now, it's not my skill. But yeah, I figured you'd feel that about. I remember watching it, going like, "Oh, Pete's not gonna enjoy this." And then we got to the end with the Evil Dead, the kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, he might like this. But I already know how you are on Doctor Strange and magic, good stuff. And yeah. So, yeah. And, although it is kind of nice that it feels like kind of the air's out of the balloon for Marvel at this point. That I'm kind of, I don't know what that says about me, that there's not this buzz and this hype. Because, like, I don't have to worry about stuff getting spoiled right now, like I've had in past stuff. So
Even for you, the special facade is starting to
I mean,
to dim.
I'm still like, again, I'll still be there opening weekend, but this isn't like Love and Thunder. We weren't there opening night. We went on Saturday.
One day later. That's how much it's changed
Well,
for
no,
you so
because
far.
we would make time out of our week to go on Friday nights, and now it's kind of like, okay, well, we'll get to it. Like Eternals, I don't even think I got to opening weekend. We just kind of meandered into that, kind of like that movie meandered across. Which still, no, there's been no ties with Eternals.
There was a reference in She-Hulk to it, I think. It was blinking, you miss it, but it was like when she was looking at a web page, there was like an article saying, "Why is there a giant hand sticking out of the?"
Okay, I love that. No, so but yeah, it's a little bit off. But yeah, I watched Andor. Don't know if you watched that.
I did have to review the pilot. Patrons made me do it.
Here's my thing with Andor. It's very well made. I don't give a crap what's going on. Just a lot of walking and talking.
I think it's easily the best first episode of the Star Wars shows on Disney Plus.
Well, again, it's very well made. I just don't care about what's going on.
The bar for me is obviously quite low, but
of course, but yeah, and people are like, oh, it's so refreshing because it's not tying into, it's not like, hey, look at this, and I was like, well, no, but it's also like, I don't know, it's definitely not for me, but
I mean, I have to agree with the sentiment. It is refreshing that it's not tying into shit, and
I do like that, but to me, that doesn't make it enough so I've only watched the first 2 episodes. There's not enough going on for me to go, oh my god, this is amazing.
I think the simplicity is probably. I mean, I did have some critiques of the first episode, but I think the simplicity in the story is part of what's making it work, and I appreciated that it set up some parallels between Andor and the antagonist, who's at least in the first episode. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be the ultimate villain or whatever, but there were some interesting parallels there and enough character stuff that I actually had some character analysis in my review of the first episode, which for most of these first Disney Plus shows, I've not really done that. I didn't come out of Obi-Wan episode 1 going, I want to talk about what's going through Obi-Wan's mind. Because I didn't.
Yeah. Also, I was very tired when I watched Andor, so that might have impacted it. My eyes might have been shut.
And it's worth mentioning, I'm saying this as someone who did not like Rogue One, so I do not give a shit about Andor as a character before the show.
And that's the thing too. Also, with people, I see the people that seem to like it also line up on Rogue One. Which, if you like Rogue One, cool. That's not how I like my Star Wars. It's way too bleak. And I know that's the point. Is how different it is, and it's the wars in the Star Wars. But yeah, so.
The bleakness was not my problem with that movie. In fact, if anything, I would say Andor's tone being a bit bleaker and darker, I think was part of what I thought was more refreshing about it, because the others, like Mandalorian was very cutesy. First Obi-Wan was just all Obi-Wan's. Yeah, it was all the like, hey, there's Uncle Ben and there's whoever else. There's Uncle Ben. Is it Uncle Ben?
It's Uncle Owen. Uncle Ben's the rice guy. And
Spider-Man. Well, that's the thing. I said Uncle Ben. I went, no, that's Spider-Man. Is he also Uncle Ben? Are they both Uncle Ben?
No, it's Uncle Owen and Ben Kenobi. Yeah. Smash them together.
Okay. Well, in my head now, Joel Edgerton's now just Uncle Ben.
That's a shirt. It's just to trigger the Star Wars fans. You call him Uncle Ben.
Well, it's like that meme that goes around. It's like a picture of Patrick Stewart, and then the quote next to him is, use the Force, Harry, and then hyphen Gandalf. And it's a picture of Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, no, but yeah. But yeah, so far I gotta go back. It's like, again, it's very well made. I'm appreciating the look and the feel of it. I just hooey.
I mean, I don't really care about more Star Wars stuff, so I'm probably not going to watch any more of it anyway. But I do think it was a pretty decent first episode, despite the fact that I think it probably should have been. The first 2 episodes should have been put together, because the first one on its own didn't feel like it had an ending. So which is a problem with Disney Plus in general, to be honest, with a lot of their shows. But that's true. That's another.
It does feel like a television show versus the way that it's paced, versus like you were talking about with a lot of the Marvel stuff. Feels like a movie they stretched out. It does have that episodic feel, which I appreciate. Because because after the second episode, I'll get that. But yeah, no, it's you know, I'm trying to think what else of note that if you've seen, and I can't think of anything off the top of my head to discuss real quick. But
I don't know. Was there anything else nerdy in the world this past week?
No, I mean I already asked you about certain movies that you don't have yet, so those are out. But
Oh, I mean, actually, I'll use this opportunity to plug something. The new Quantum Leap started, and myself and Tara reviewed it. We talked about the first episode for an hour, so if you'd like to go see your thoughts on that, if you like Quantum Leap, go check out Male Fuzz TV and watch the review.
I know, no Scott Bakula. It's not even the same character, right?
It's not the same character. It's set in the same world, though. They reference the original show.
Hey, cool.
So,
I hope they resolve the end title card. You know?
They referenced Dean Stockwell's character as well. So,
cool.
In fact, they even dedicated the episode to him at the end, which was kind of sweet because he died last year.
That's very cool. I like when they do that. That's on Peacock, right?
Well, NBC first, but yeah, it's on
NBC?
on Peacock too. Yeah.
Obviously. Oh, so it's actually on TV.
Yeah, it's airing on a time slot. Yeah.
Very cool. I did not know that. That's how far out of TV I am right now. I just assume everything's on streaming first.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's on Peacock immediately after because it's their thing, but yeah.
Well, that makes me wonder if The Resort ever aired because we're going to watch that. It's from the people that did Palm Springs, but it's a TV series and it's Chidi from The Good Place and the mom from, she was also in, what's her name? Christine? I can't think of it right now, but she was in Palm Springs as well. Christine Milioti.
Oh yeah, I know her. Yeah, she was in a fantastic episode of Black Mirror called USS Callister.
Yep. Which, funnily enough, the director of Andor also directed that. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, as I was looking at these names, but they go on vacation, they start finding a mystery. It looks really good. It's all aired now. That's what it was. Have you finished What We Do in the Shadows?
I haven't even started this season yet.
Oh man. Really good storytelling.
I'm sorry to say, haven't even started the season yet. Actually, I will drop a weirder recommendation on you. I'm shocked I want to recommend this, but Orphan First Kill. Not bad.
Yeah, not bad.
Like the first half is like fine. It's a bit retready, but then there's a certain moment where you're like, oh, you actually had an idea for this one. Oh, okay.
Did we talk about this last week?
Maybe we did. Maybe we already had this conversation.
I was offline. Yeah. Because I remember you saying the same stuff. Yeah. First half, I'm kind of like, okay, I've seen Orphan. This. There's a turn, and you're like, oh, now I sat right up in my chair. Like, oh, okay, I'm in now.
Yeah. Try and not get spoiled for Orphan First. If you care about watching it, don't get it spoiled. Just go in and.
It's a lot like, which I don't like that this has become part of marketing is like, no less. But I try to go in knowing as least amount of possible. But that one's definitely one you should know less. Just know that it's a prequel. That's all you need to know.
Yes. Get over the fact that there's a 25-year-old playing someone who's meant to be like 9 and just go with it.
Yeah. But yeah, First Kill ended up being a worthwhile watch.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. I did watch The Wolfman for the first time since I was 10.
Oh, the original?
Yeah, the original. The Lon Chaney Jr. So it's pretty fun. I'm going to watch this spooky season. I'm going to watch Frankenstein, which I've never actually seen. The Boris Karloff.
Good. I recommend it.
Yeah. And they, I think, what was the other one we're going to watch? They have, The Mummy with Boris Karloff. I've never seen.
Honestly, I don't think the original Mummy's that good. It's got a great opening, like 10 minutes, and then the rest of it, I think, is quite dull. But for the sake of ticking it off, you should watch it.
So those are all sitting there on Peacock, and Wolfman was enjoyable enough. It's definitely a movie of a different time with the pacing. It's only 70 minutes, but it feels much longer.
Yeah, I'm definitely not. I'm not a big Wolfman. Like, I don't think the Wolfman's that great a movie. I think when I'm looking at those original Universal classics. Invisible Man's my favorite, and then I really like Dracula, Frankenstein, Black Lagoon's not bad. And
so I'm trying to knock those off. So I gotta find Creature from Black Lagoon because I haven't seen that since I was a kid as well. But yeah, I've never seen Frankenstein, the Boris Karloff stuff. I haven't seen Mummy and Frankenstein. So we flipped a coin. Wolfman won over Frankenstein. So, but I'm excited. It's fun to watch those old ones. Because I watched Dracula last year when I had COVID. I remember texting Pete like, "Should I watch this?" And you're like, "Absolutely."
Yeah, of course you should.
And I'm gonna track down the Christopher Lee because we started on Shudder. They have a countdown of the scariest horror moments show, and that Dracula, I forget the name of it.
It's actually just Dracula, depending on where you're looking at it. But it's also called Horror of Dracula.
Okay, that's what they had it listed as. Yeah. And my wife goes, "Wait, Christopher Lee, the guy from Star Wars?" And I said, "Yeah, I can't Dooku." And she's like, "He was Dracula?" I was like, "Oh, he was Dracula a lot."
Yeah, also like, Van Helsing's Peter Cushing, also from Star Wars, funnily enough.
Yeah, and I told her that, and she goes, "Wait, who?" I go, "Grand Moff Tarkin." She goes, "Oh, okay." So I'm gonna try to track that one down because I haven't seen any of the. Honestly, I've seen any Hammer.
The first Hammer Dracula is pretty good. The sequel's very whaley in quality, but the first one's pretty good.
But yeah, so I'm gonna try to watch that one and Nosferatu, which our little joke is. Right now, anytime I say let's watch Nosferatu, she goes, "Oh, he's in an episode of SpongeBob," because she knows it irritates me.
Very good.
As if he's not a legendary horror character. But I'm gonna watch the what's his name, Werner
Herzog.
One.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's also great. I highly recommend Werner Herzog Nosferatu.
Yes.
It's funny actually we talk about these Universal Monster movies because the rest of the main 8 are all switching to 4K. They're all getting 4K releases.
Ooh.
So they're all switching to 4K on iTunes. I think.
So what count is the 8 then? Because you got Dracula, Wolfman. Frankenstein.
It's Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, Invisible Man, Mummy, Phantom of the Opera, and Creature from the Black Lagoon. That's the main 8.
Ooh, okay.
And then you get all the sequels, which maybe the one day will be 4K, but they're not in a rush to get to those ones.
The transfer for Wolfman was pretty good on the Peacock, so I don't know what they used, but it looked really good for an older movie on high def. I
think that got 4K last year, so I'm pretty sure it's probably the same. I mean, maybe you were getting HD of it rather than the full 4K, but it was probably from the same master.
Okay, it looked pretty good for an older movie because sometimes they. Like Dracula last year didn't look as good. Like it looked like an older movie. It felt like an older movie. That might have just been the way it was shot though too, because it is 10 years.
It's 10 years older, yeah.
It's 10 years older than Wolfman. So, I was like, oh, okay, this is fine. But no, that's pretty cool because I know you're a big Universal horror guy. So that's of course you would know when the 4Ks are coming.
Yeah, they did half of them. They did the main 4 last year, and then the other half of the 8 they're doing for this spooky season. So, no, Poltergeist just got up to 4K as well at Warner Bros. If anyone cares, I mean, this is super nitty gritty movie stuff on the DC Comics podcast. But if anyone cares,
well, we don't have any DC movies to talk about, so we might as well make up for it elsewhere.
This is very true. This is very true. But hey. As always, timestamps exist to skip to the comics should you not like our small talk segment. So you said
Poltergeist up-res, huh? 4K?
Yep, that's just been upgraded to 4K. I believe.
I'm gonna have to go.
They put a release out of it as well, so... Yeah. I'm not a huge Poltergeist guy, to be honest, but...
I like it a lot. I realize it's the only Tobe Hooper movie that I really like, so I'm not a big Texas Chainsaw guy. I haven't seen Salem's Lot. So, Poltergeist it is, and I still don't believe he fully directed it.
I'll take Texas Chainsaw over Poltergeist. I'll take Texas Chainsaw 2 over Poltergeist.
Wow.
I'll maybe even take a few other his films. I'm trying to think what else he's done.
Yeah.
But my mind's drawing a blank. He did Martin, right?
Yeah.
Was that him? I think he did Martin.
Which one?
Martin.
I don't know. Let's look.
It's a vampire movie, kind of. I say kind of. I think he did the original Toolbox Murders, I want to say, if I remember correctly. No, he did the remake of Toolbox Murders, sorry, not the original. And a bizarre twist, he did the remake of it.
He did not do those Texas Chainsaw. He did the first and the second. They're crediting him with the newer ones on the filmography.
Google. Yeah, I'm sure he got an executive producer.
Yeah, and I was like, no, this is not what I'm looking. I'm looking for his actual filmography of what he directed. I'm looking for this Martin one because that sounds like just different.
70s, I'm sure.
Let's see.
Unless I'm mixing it up with someone else.
He did The Abyss in 1959.
Mm-hmm. Martin, 1977 is the movie. It's Romero. Sorry, it's George A. Romero who directed Martin. Oh, forgive me, horror people.
76, he has Eaten Alive. So Poltergeist, Life Force, Invaders from Mars, Texas Chainsaw 2. He did an episode of Freddy's Nightmares. Yeah. What was the one? I listened to a show that was talking about one that he directed. Spontaneous Combustion is the one. And it sounded like a whole mess. So I might have to watch that one.
Well, yeah. I think we could start talking about comics there.
Yeah, let's get to those. Let's talk Two-Face.
Yes. So started off, Batman, One Bad Day, Two-Face issue 1, Mariko Tamaki writing with Javier Fernandez on the art. So I want to also, first of all, before I even mention the contents of the book, I want to say that they scared me into thinking it was like an extra 15 pages longer than the last one, because as the preview of that Batman and Joker book at the end.
That's Sylvester, yeah.
I was like, oh god, this is 75 pages. What the hell? And then I got to like the ending and went, oh, and then as obviously because I read this first, and then obviously I realized afterwards it was in every book, but like I was like, oh god damn it.
It also read quicker than the Riddler one, just because I think Tamaki's style is different than King.
Oh yeah, like it wasn't as dense. Certainly.
This definitely felt like more like a traditional Bat story.
This felt like basically the page count is the same as 3 comics, so it was like a 3-issue mini, just kind of like written as one big story, which is fine. I will say the premise of this sort of series of one shots. I think after the last issue with Tom King's book, I thought it was going to all of them were going to like sort of like be something that caused Batman to eventually maybe kill someone. Clearly that's not the case. He's just had a shitty day here.
So this is actually a bad day for Batman.
Yes.
And that's one. But I do like it because Two-Face is my favorite Bat villain. I'm not counting Ivy because she's on the Harley line now and the Selena line. That she's not really bad guy. She's not fully good.
There is an Ivy issue coming though, isn't there?
Yeah. So when it comes to Two-Face, I love the dynamic of Harvey versus Two-Face, right? And that Harvey Dent was a friend of Batman's, and and Gordon, and so Bruce always has an issue that Harvey might be in there still, and so it's different from the Joker or from Scarecrow or whatever. Is that this is his friend, and how far can his friend push him, is what I kind of liked here.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about this as well is that unlike the other one, this actually could just be in continuity. Obviously, unless any of the Two-Face stuff gets retconned later, but obviously early on there's a reference in the flashback scene to Officer Nakano, which is obviously a young Mayor Nakano, who then is mentioned again later when we go to present day. It references a couple of things from Tamaki's run. Even some of the characters Tamaki throws in here, are very much, it's the present day Stephanie Brown, it's the present day, Babs and Cass. Yeah, like, we get all these like sort of ties, and it's like, oh, this literally could just be like an extra little extension onto her run. And just,
Under Attack, it almost feels like that, because that last Riddler story Tamaki did was what, three issues, right?
I think it was more, but that was the one that was co-written. Like someone else was scripting, so it was a bit wordier than her writing usually was.
So I wonder, in another world where we don't get a one shot, type thing, if this was just the next arc.
Possibly, yeah.
And Tamaki adapted it.
I'd almost say that if when they eventually maybe do an omnibus of her run, I would almost say throw this on at the end, like include this. This is kind of just part of the next part of it.
Yeah, and again, it's everything that we've already said about Tamaki. That Tamaki has the voices down for these characters. Like Steph sounds like Steph. Cass sounds like Cass. Bruce, she can write for Bruce really well. So, but seeing the Two-Face, I really liked. This is, I think, the first time we've encountered Tamaki's Two-Face, and for me, I always look to see if I like the idea that sometimes Two-Face is in control and sometimes Harvey's in control. So how they word things is different. And I really feel Tamaki nailed that in this.
Yeah. Well, this book's toying with the idea, is that even a thing, or isn't, like, is it really two personalities, or is it just one person, and like it's all kind of a ruse or whatever. Obviously there's a flashback scene where Two-Face is like dangling a kid off the edge of a building, but the main plot of the book is that Harvey is like kind of rehabilitated, he's acting normal, Nakano's going to make him DA, but he contacts Batman because he's worried, because his father, who's turning 88, he's having a 88th birthday party, and he's retiring, and he's going to make a big speech and all that stuff. Someone sent a letter, like an old school ransom letter with all the cut out letters, saying that his father's not safe, basically. And Batman agrees to look into it and find out who's doing this. Now, I do think it is a bit predictable in that I immediately went, this is Two-Face. This is Two-Face who sent this letter. Even if we're assuming Harvey and Two-Face are two distinct personalities, and maybe Harvey doesn't know that he's actually it's Two-Face, but immediately I went, this is Two-Face. And that's why when Batman looks into everything, he can't find any evidence of anyone else or anything going on.
Right, and that's what I like though too, is that Bruce looks and he's like, there's no ties to anybody, which I like. That kind of befuddles him because he wants to trust Harvey, so it's almost in his blind spot.
Yeah. So, and it's, Steph actually comes to see Batman and says, hey, we're kind of doing this weird favor for Harvey Dent, and like, can we remember who he is? And obviously it's presenting this idea that Batman always wants to give Harvey a chance because he was friends with him. And that's kind of this sort of conflicting part of this relationship for him. But obviously the art from Fernandez is very good. There's a lot of great stuff, a lot of moody stuff. At the start when Two-Face is on the rooftop and dangling the kid, there's a lot of stuff where you see like the scarred side of his face from surrounded by shadow, or stuff like that. It's all.
There's the one page where you turn the page and it really focuses on that side of Two-Face, and it's very ghastly in the best way, very body horror. So yeah, props to Fernandez. I remember the first time I read Fernandez's or saw his art was in Nightwing. So he does Gotham really, really well. Oh god, that was years ago. But yeah.
In terms of continuity, it references Montoya's past with Two-Face, and I think it even mentions No Man's Land, and with Gordon early on, talks about that.
Yeah, which I gotta read No Man's Land. It's been years, but he talks about Harvey put him on trial during that time, and it was Harvey making the decision, not Two-Face. So that's why Gordon trusts Harvey. So that was another aspect that I liked of it.
Yeah, I will say this isn't specific to this book, and this goes into Tamaki's run, it goes into other Bat books right now, but I love that, this is like just the horror of the New 52 sort of speaking through me here, but I am so glad that we're willing to remember all of Bat continuity again and talk about all these big things that have happened in the last like 30 years in Batman, because there's a lot of good stuff and a lot of good history with a lot of these characters, and it's nice that it can be referenced again and used to like help drive motivations and stories. So I actually really love the page where it's Steph and Batman talking on the roof. There's just something about the purple of her costume popping.
Yeah, and the way that the city's lit in the background too.
Yeah,
it looks pretty cool because it's dark but it's light at the same time. So it's also playing with that duality.
Yeah, and you even get in Power Rangers rules here when we see there's like a quick little flashback of Steph seeing like adult Batman beat someone up, and she's wearing a purple t-shirt because like the Power Rangers, she has to always be wearing her color.
Yeah,
just so we know it's her.
And that person is her dad, Cluemaster.
Oh, of course, yeah. That's why it's referencing that. That's why she has a distrust of helping like someone who's a villain, because her father was this villain. So but it brings up this conflict, and I think we do get a scene with Harvey going to see his father and seeing that strange relationship and how he's trying to be this good son to him, which is all just there so that when Harvey does flip and he's like, no, this is Two-Face has made this plan to kill his father the whole time, you feel the weight of it a bit more because it's given you a glimpse, because I don't think Harvey's relationship with his father is something that I've seen before, or if I have, it's been so long that I don't remember it.
Yeah, and even as a Two-Face fan, I didn't realize he was a junior. This is Harvey Dent Sr., and I didn't realize that. And again, it plays off of that whole, it plays with the duality that there's two of them. There's Harvey Sr., Harvey Jr. His lot was kind of cast from the beginning. And he's got a new younger wife, and stuff. But as I'm looking at the art again, is it just me, or does Fernandez's Harvey look a lot like Aaron Eckhart?
I think it's the hair that's making you think that.
Yeah.
He's got a very
Yeah.
Aaron Eckhart haircut.
Yeah.
That's Harvey Dent.
Yeah, I remember that just came through. I got to a page. I was like, oh my god, he looks like the Nolan verse for that second.
But the setup of the issue is fun because it's all building up to this birthday party, and you have like Batman with Steph, Cass, and other Bat family members kind of like at or around or in the party. So there's kind of this like build up to like something's going to go down and we don't quite know what. So there's a good bit of suspense and build up and tension to it. Cass is on the inside wearing a dress as a guest, and Batman's outside the perimeter. Steph's like posing as one of the employees in the hotel the party's taking place, and but it comes up and we get this sort of this plot where all the balloons are filled with gas and the cake's poisoned, and the cake specifically makes his face kind of start to melt on like one side, just like Harvey, which is very cool. Do you know, actually a lot of this made me think of the Arkham Tower stuff a little bit, just in the idea that we have all these characters in place build up to this thing. Obviously it's a much smaller compressed version, but
but it's definitely the Bat team instead of just Batman.
Yeah. Which was cool. So, it was a great big full page. Actually, I love the panel of when you first see Cass in outfit. She's just kicking a dude. She looks great. But there's a great panel of Batman coming through the skylight with all the balloons that say 88 are releasing from the windows to safety. There's a great big full page spread of Batman surrounded by all these golden balloons coming down. It's a very classic Batman entrance, but all the balloons with the gold make it pop, and just in a very different way to normal. Yeah,
well, and the color behind it of the skylight is green too. It's not just that clear blue that we're used to seeing. So the contrast in the colors.
Yeah, which actually, speaking of the colors, we immediately shift to like Two-Face stalking his father in the hallways, and it's all like this. Like, it's a horror movie. It's all bathed in red and dark and black and. So it's really good stuff, and then obviously once his face starts like bubbling and like melting, it's like, oh shit, this is proper horror movie stuff. And to be fair, what did I like from the get-go of Tamaki's detective run? It was the horror movie vibes that a lot of it was giving me. So
with the bug guy,
the monsters and all that stuff. So no, I thought it was super fun. I think obviously I don't think it's as momentous and amazing as the Tom King issue, but I think what I love about this is that it is so different. I think if we got an issue that was trying to be as serious as the Tom King issue, it would have like hurt whatever the issue was, because we're like, oh, this is too similar. I think that this, like a good wrestling show, you have a very different genre or style of match as your second match, because it'll, to make it feel distinct and different. So you don't really compare them the same way because it's pointless, but it's good that it feels different to the first one. So I hope that they effectively bounce around tones and types of Batman story throughout these one-shots.
Yeah, I like that this just was a really good Two-Face story, right? Like, it just... And I hope that's what these end up doing, is they kind of spotlight what makes the character work. Actually,
the one thing that I would compare between this and the Tom King issue is that they both elevated their villain. Like, I think this elevated too. Like, this was a really dastardly personal thing for Two-Face to do, was to pretend to be okay for some time, only to turn around and be a plot where he's been plotting to kill his father. It feels really vicious, and Riddler was elevated into this ultra like killer in like Tom King's issue. So if we get that in each of these issues where each villain is like elevated to like a higher status, that's awesome. That's great. I'm really excited about the Clayface one now. To see what they do with that, because Clayface is another favorite that through the Tynan detective run. I just wonder what that one bad day is going to be like. So, but I like this. And then, we get to the end that, Harvey is Two-Face and Two-Face is Harvey. They're, it's... And it kind of gets to this idea that Two-Face mocks Batman at the end when he comes to see him in the cell, where he talks about how, my father wanted to believe that Harvey could still exist, and you want to believe he could still exist. And that's kind of the darkness of Two-Face, is that he represents that there's that, like, you hope a little bit, but you're always disappointed when Two-Face is the one that comes around. So that's kind of part of the beauty of the character in a weird way, and what makes him stand out against other villains. So no, it's really neat stuff. So you end with Steph and Batman talking about it, or talking about him over the gravestone, and so it's just a nice little ending to the whole story. And as with a lot of Two-Face stories, it ends with him tossing the coin. And we don't see what it lands on, which I do like. Like, that's a nice... It's just him snatching it from the air. And it's kind of representative of the story as a whole, right? Is that we see these two personalities, but the story's kind of implying, nah, that's not really true. So the idea at the end, we don't see what the coin lands on because there is no one side. Like there's no two sides. It's just one thing.
Right. He makes us look, right?
Yeah. And that's not to say that I want that interpretation to always be Two-Face, but I think this issue does a good job of making it this interpretation of Two-Face.
Yeah. This interpretation of Two-Faces, they're one and the same. So the coin flip's just a show.
Yeah, because I love like Grant Morrison's Arkham Asylum. I love that there's that like humanity from Two-Face by the end. I love when stories do that with Two-Face, but for this interpretation of Two-Face, I really dug what Tamaki set out to do with it. Kind of made this tragedy of like you always want to hope that Harvey's still in there, but the sad truth is he probably isn't, and that's
right.
So
I mean, depending on how many times they redo his face, right? Like he only has so many constructive surgeries before a man can snap.
To be fair, he's not constructed here. He's just walking around with a burned half face.
Yeah. But I'm just saying. So like, even in the Ram V Tech stuff right now, he's walking around with that mask on in the last issue. Kind of rehabbed. So, but yeah, no, this is really really good stuff.
Yeah, I guess that means this isn't continuity, but like you could take it as continuity to her detective run and just sort of roll with it there. So
so.
Comics be comics, don't worry about it.
Yeah, comics will be comics. It doesn't have to all fit neatly. But this is a very nice interpretation and breakdown of Two-Face's character. And I mean, because you also have him running around right now. Like as a Two-Face fan, I'm very happy because he's running around in Task Force Z, doing stuff in there. And we got this.
That's true. Yeah, a lot of Two-Face.
So
right now,
after him not being around for a while. So, but yeah. I really did like that was the strength of the issue for me was the whole Bruce wants to trust Harvey, and what I like at the end is they mimic each other with their sentences where Batman's driving away and goes Harvey and Two-Face, my friend and my enemy, and then Two-Face just goes Batman, my friend and my enemy.
The whole thing is Batman's questioning himself as he's investigating things like why am I doing this? Am I doing this because I hope it's Harvey, but I know there's a chance it's just Two-Face. And Steph warns him of that, and then it turns out to be the sad truth. And so it's kind of like a inevitable tragedy we all see coming, and that's kind of the point. And that's why it doesn't matter that you can guess that it's Two-Face right from the start, because the whole sad part of it is that deep down Batman probably knows it is, and he's hoping to find a culprit, so it's not Two-Face. He's hoping to find the Joker. He wants to be
justified. He wants his trust to be justified. And it just won't be because it's Two-Face.
Yeah,
it's the whole story of the frog and the scorpion, right? It's just his nature at this point.
So yeah, it's not a 10 out of 10 that the Riddler issue was, but what are you rating Two-Face?
I'm gonna give this one a 9. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think I agree with the 9. I think it was another excellent one shot, and if they can keep up to this standard, like we'll be in a very happy place with these. But yeah, so very, very good stuff. Art's fantastic. The story's great. Some great character dynamics to talk about. And
do we, off the top of your head, do you know who's next? Which villain?
Oh, no, off the top of my head, no. I'd have to go check.
Yeah, I'll look that up.
Yeah. But yeah, I think both issues have elevated their villains and their story. Maybe you won't like these versions of the villains. Maybe you don't want a serial killer Riddler, and you don't want a Two-Face that doesn't have the duality, but I think these are both did really good jobs telling these stories. Yeah. You got an answer for me about?
I'm looking right now. I believe it's Penguin. That's the John Ridley and Ken Coley.
Should be interesting.
It doesn't say when it comes out. That's what I was looking for. Was the dates? And I don't see. And then after that is the Freeze Duggan by Duggan and Scalera. So.
Not excited by Duggan as a name, but I do want Mr. Freeze to have a good issue. So.
And actually, we don't have a Ivy. We have a Catwoman.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
That's by Wilson though, so I could understand why you would think that was Ivy.
I just assumed there was an because there's like 6 or 8 of them. I can't remember how many there is.
Yeah, there's Clayface, Bane, Catwoman, Freeze, Penguin, Two-Face, and Riddler. So.
Okay. All right. Nightwing issue 96. Tom Taylor writing with Bruno Redondo on the art is the finale of the arc, which has a double meaning. The battle for Gotham's or for Blue Taven's heart, I should say. By the end of the issue, it's got a bit of a double meaning, so we'll get to that. Unsurprisingly to everyone, I love this issue. It's, the end of last issue was the mask coming off and Blockbuster seeing that Dick Grayson is Nightwing as Haven is burning due to Blockbuster's antics. And, Babs is outside. She's offering help for Dick, and Dick's, no, I'm going to fight Blockbuster on my own. So a lot of the issue is just Dick and Blockbuster fighting.
Yeah.
But
in the flames, it looks rad as hell.
Oh, yeah, they're surrounded by fire. The conversation behind, when Dick puts his mask back on early on, and we get like the close up of the hands like putting it on, and then so there's a lot of good stuff going on here. The fighting looks fantastic. Redondo's art is beautiful. You get a lot of there's a panel a few pages in where so after he's put his mask on, he's like, it's like Dick's like running or lunging and it's like a side shot of him doing this with his hands out behind him with his batons, and it's like, you've got the orange of the flames behind him, and then he's just like black and blue in colors. It looks beautiful. It's an excellent finale to the arc. You get the big fight, the big showdown with Blockbuster, and ultimately though, this idea that this has all been about Blockbuster trying to keep a hold of the city, and he hates that Dick's trying to take it from him, and now he knows that Dick and Nightwing are the same person. There's a lot of great climactic stuff here with this, and payoff to this like being the story of Blockbuster, and it is the ending of Blockbuster's story for now, because Blockbuster at the end of this issue seems to be dead. So
yeah, Heartless Shut Up was like, I was ready for you this time. I got a bigger tube. So I did like that, but no, I say this a lot when it comes to this arc, is it feels very Daredevil, and I feel that's by design at this point with Taylor and Redondo, because this felt like Matt Murdock versus Kingpin, when Kingpin realizes that Daredevil and Matt Murdock are one and the same. And even the threat from Blockbuster is everyone is now less safe because I know who you are.
Yeah.
It's just that felt very Kingpin, but with just the way that Dick responds and how Babs responds later, that's what makes it Nightwing and DC and that it's not just it's almost these archetypes here. But yeah, man, it looked so cool, the fight with all the color around there, with the oranges and the reds and yellows and stuff with the fire against whatever tone that Blockbuster is, because he's like a pinkish hue. It makes him look that much more monstrous.
It looks like he's part of the fire, whereas Dick always looks like he stands out because of the blue and the black. Right. He is in the fire. He's the one saying this is fine, whereas Dick's like, no, fighting against it. I think I love that this truly ends a lot of like Blockbuster's like current story, because the other villains turn their back on him because they find out, Babs reveals to them that Blockbuster actually owns the prison in Bloodhaven, and all the horrible time that some of you have had there is actually, he could have made that easy for you. He could have changed it so that it was like a resort while you were there, but he didn't. He kept one of the roughest prisons in the country.
And one of the guys like, I lost friends in that prison, and we get the good Tom Taylor trick, which we've seen now here and in Suicide Squad, where we get the comics code. Censoring
the fingers and stuff,
and middle fingers. And I will say I got a mighty laugh, because it's not just the FU, it's the bottom of the page, whereas they're driving off and they keep saying more stuff, and it's just all censored. Oh my god. And so it's a very serious moment, right? But through Tom Taylor's comedy stylings, it really lightens it up, and Redondo's art just kills it here, because just the way I think, is this Electrocutioner? Yeah. The way that he's framed with the middle fingers, it's all just very,
it's
makes
very,
for a big moment.
Yeah, it's all designed to be as funny as humanly possible. But obviously satisfying, because it's them turning their back on Blockbuster. And it's the idea that they try the control of the city. And that's the great thing about the irony of the ending, is that, it's like the battle for Bloodhaven's heart, and it comes right after Blockbuster repeatedly says that this is his city, that he is Bloodhaven, that his heart is the heart of Bloodhaven. And then of course, so there's the meaning that the most of the arc has been, which is the battle for the soul of Bloodhaven, where Dick's trying to save it and Blockbuster wants to keep it corrupt. But the literal thing at the end, where I am Bloodhaven, okay, and then he literally takes his heart. So there's a great sort of dry, like, dark humor to that.
Mm-hmm.
But the end of the fight's great. Dick kicks Blockbuster out the window.
Yep.
It's a phenomenal couple of panels. The perspective as he comes flying out over the top of Barbara and Kate, who are outside, fending off the other villains. And, it turns out all the community who are here have been, including George Perez, who they're still giving a cameo in here, which is cool. And Wolfman, actually. I'm pretty sure that's Wolfman who's standing next to him. They're putting the fire out with buckets. They're telling Blockbuster to get lost. And then, of course, the other villains tell him to get lost. All really good stuff. And I you know what, I love that it teases it's a trope I hate in writing that constantly happens in superhero comics especially, but it happens a lot in TV shows and stuff, is the we can't be together because you'll be in danger bullshit. I love that Dick says that, and for a split second you're like, oh no, Taylor, what are you doing? And then Babs just starts cackling with laughter. Are you serious? I'm Batgirl, look at who we are, it doesn't matter. And then
we're always in danger. I love that line.
And then you get this really sweet exchange where she asks if he's happy, and he's like, yeah, I've never been happier. And then she's like, Oracle and Nightwing, Batgirl and Robin, Dick and Babs, and then they have their big kisses. This is really feels like a heartwarming run to me, where it's finally willing to. This goes back to what I said before about how the New 52 refused to accept the history of anything. This is like just capitalizing on so much history to give all of this so much weight. Yeah,
and it's always felt like Dick Grayson is like the cornerstone of the DCU, and I like that here Taylor's really embracing that, because
Matt, you say that every single time we talk about this book.
I know, but it's because of the way. So as Blockbuster's like, well, you can't stop me by yourself. He's like, I don't have to do this by myself. And he's not Superman, right? He can't be everywhere at once, but through his connections of stuff, it's Dick Grayson wins because he's a good friend, right?
Yeah. It's worth mentioning as well that this issue focuses primarily on Dick versus Blockbuster, and Dick mentions all the things that happened last issue, but I like that it made the entire confrontation feel big, that we had Flash going after the one villain, and we had the Titans go after this other part of the operation. Yeah. But it made sense to me that in this issue, okay, that we got all out the way in the penultimate issue to make everything feel big. But now it's just these two in a room with fire, and it's a one-on-one fight, because it makes it feel like the big climactic fight, as opposed to just another part of the overall schmoz, if you will. So I really like that, and just what I said there about using all of the history, even that line from Babs, which is Oracle and Nightwing, Batgirl and Robin, Dick and Babs. It's like literally their real names are last, their first aliases are second, and what they currently get known as being first. This idea that it's going back down that line of history in that dialogue.
They are rivaling Lois and Clark as my favorite couple. Because it feels real. This feels like a real relationship. Yes, it's all art, but the way that Taylor has played with it in this arc, well, in his run on Nightwing, it's just, they feel like a real couple, that her laughing at him, well, we can't be together because you'll be in danger. And she's like, yeah, okay. That's a real response from a loved one. Don't worry about me. I'll worry about me. So yeah, they're and also they're adorable. Come on.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, I'm starting to think no one should ever do a Nightwing run after this, because I don't know how anything's ever going to compare to it.
Yeah, this is definitely everything I've ever wanted in Nightwing run, and where do we go from here? Everything's just gonna, I'm sure it'll be fine. Whoever takes over for Taylor, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, not that we're done yet, and not that there's not plenty still to come. Obviously, we're this Heartless stuff's been building since the start of the run, and that's obviously we're getting more teasers. Which, by the way, I love that his heart gun for Blockbuster looks like a rocket launcher. The way he's holding it, it's like a rocket launcher on his shoulder. It's, I don't know, it's just a really nice touch.
I was gonna say though too, when you said about you don't want another Nightwing run, and I was like, I'm sure people said that with Bendis with Daredevil, and then Brubaker came up.
Oh sure, okay, yeah.
We're gonna do so.
Oh yeah,
I'm just saying, if any of our other favorite writers, that's the gauntlet.
I say that, but then it's like, okay, take it over for. It's like Ram V is going to be the next writer on the. I was like, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah, I'll shut up. People, right? That go ahead. The gauntlet's thrown. Show us what you got.
Yeah, but this was like the perfect climax to this arc. It felt like it was really touching on all these things, and obviously the fact that Blockbuster, at least for now, is dead would also take care of the fact that he knows who Dick is. So we don't have to deal with that too much right now, which is nice.
Well, it's almost like Heartless doesn't care about that, right? Like that's what makes him and Blockbuster different, or them, because we still don't know who Heartless is.
Sure, yeah, but I wasn't even thinking about it in the context of that. I was just thinking the context of dealing with it from a writing point of view. We don't have to do it for at least a while until Blockbuster somehow comes back. But
zombie Blockbuster.
But the other thing about this though is there also elevates Heartless, because he's just done this to Blockbuster. You spend time building up a villain, especially an original villain like this. You have to like put them over. You have to like make it clear that they're a big deal and a big threat. So having it last a while helps do that, but having him take out Blockbuster like this, really achieves that. And all of a sudden, Heartless feels like a bigger deal again. So it says next power vacuum. So we'll see maybe if some other mobsters try to take over Blockbuster's turf or something, and how Nightwing and co deal with that. But that was really cool. So no, I had just a giant smile on my face pretty much this entire issue. Redondo's art is phenomenal. The fight is exciting to watch. The emotional conversation that turned funny very quickly between Dick and Babs, very touching. The close-ups of the hands and things like that. Just the perfect thing to use in the panels as this is playing out. Really good stuff. And then obviously all the Heartless stuff in the last scene is great. So
yeah, well, and the ominous "Your city's mine now."
Yeah.
That's oof.
So there's always going to be another threat, and Dick already knows about Heartless to some extent, but doesn't necessarily know that Heartless is making plays to really take over the city.
Right.
So
and his sister's still mayor, right? As far as we know. So
you say that as if there's any reason why she wouldn't be now.
Well, because she implicated in Blockbuster's corruption and stuff, like with the cop, like when he. Oh no, because Blockbuster's guys got him.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah.
So, yeah, I don't see why that would have changed, unless they tell us differently next issue.
Right.
Phenomenal issue. Loving this run. It's becoming slowly, issue by issue, one of my favorite runs of DC Comics. So, it's already taken best Nightwing run for me, and we'll see where it keeps going from there. So, what are you giving Nightwing issue 96?
I'm giving this a 10.
Oh, I don't know if I'm going to go quite to the 10. I am going to go a little bit more restrained and say 9.5. But I loved it. And I'm loving this run. So happy days. So there you go. That's Nightwing. The Flash 786. This is Jeremy Adams writing with Amancay and Nahuelpan on the art. This is back to being a Dark Crisis tie-in for one issue, interestingly. I did not see that coming. I probably could have if I'd remembered to solicit text, but I did not know that going in.
Nope.
So we actually have a bunch of other characters here at the start. We have the GSA, we have the Titans. Everyone's going to split up and deal with the different armies that Deathstroke's got kicking around. Now, to be honest, the Dark Crisis tie-in of this is basically just a setup for what's going to happen with the Flash family. It's not really that important or that essential to Dark Crisis. So, no one has to worry about it. But the Flash family are going to speed around, Linda included, who gets a costume from Mr. Terrific, are going to speed around and just deal with some of the villains that are up to no good during Dark Crisis. That said, though, before we go into that part of the issue, I have to talk about one of my favourite moments of the week. I don't know if I'll take mine because there's a lot of good stuff in Nightwing to pick at the end of the show.
Yeah.
But there's a moment here between Damian and Irate, which then brings in Cass and Steph, which popped me so much. So basically Damian walks into the scene and looks down at Irate and says, "Kid Flash, who is this, Baby Flash or Flash Baby?" And Irate just sort of gives him a stern look and says, "My mom says people are mean because they're trying to make up for not feeling as good as everyone else." And the way that Steph and Cass are drawn in the background with their masks on, just looking up like, oh shit.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah, and then Cass, or Steph kneels down in the next panel and says, "Hi, my name's Stephanie, and this is Cass, and we'd like to be your best friends."
Yeah.
As Damien storms off, oh my god, I was howling at this
with his
sequence of panels. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
The idea of Steph and Cass thinking Ira's great because she's gives Damien shit is just a wonderful
and
little
she's sassy.
gag.
Like,
Oh, it's great.
She fits right in.
Yeah, so funny, and then it pays off a little bit again later as well. When they all go off, and there's this 2-page layout of like there's 2 plots running down either side of the 2-page layout with the Flash family running in the middle. You've got one side, you got Damien dealing with what's that villain's name?
He's Shaggy Man or the General, depending on what version.
Yeah, that's the one. So you've got basically Iray saves Damien from getting smushed. And Damien's like, I had it under control. And she was like, the proper response is thank you. And then Steph just turns to Cass and goes, she's the best.
Yep, and then Cass, the best.
Yeah, so good.
And then on the opposite side, you have Jay constantly going to Arsenal and Roy, why are you wearing a hat? And that killed me too.
Yeah, so superheroes don't wear hats. It's just not, not even the hat, like a ball cap specifically.
Yeah, this one does. Also, getting to see Emmy, that's good. Like, anytime we can see her, I'm a fan of.
Oh, sure, yeah. So, I mean, if it wasn't clear already, this is just a really delightfully fun issue. This, I mean, I think Adam's run on Flash doesn't have the weight that Taylor's Nightwing run does, but it does have the feel-good side of it. So it's not as good, but the more it's went on, the more I've come to kind of love this run and really enjoy what it's doing with the characters.
Just like with Tom Taylor, you can tell there's an appreciation of the character.
Yeah.
Right? That Adams really loves Wally, and it comes through with all of this,
Yeah, it loves Wally's family, loves like all these, the characters. So it's nowhere near as good as Nightwing's because it doesn't have the same weight to it, but it does have that respect for the history, and clearly there's just a lot of fun being had, like having these characters in this situation, having the kids have their powers and interact. Obviously, there's a great callback here to earlier in the run where they run into Animal Man and Animal Girl who are fighting Mula and some gorillas from Grodd's camp, and Iray's so excited to see her, and they're both excited, and they team up a little bit. I love that Jay and Maxine have got these like hello the arch nemesis, which for the record just feels like okay, so they're going to be a couple at some point, right? Like they clearly have a crush on each other. I'm calling it now. I'm getting some Xander Cordelia like chemistry coming from this. So no, just delightful. Like just it's kind of a great set. So they end up fighting some Nazi zombies at one point from an old Nazi bunker. And Power Girl teaches Jay how to thunderclap, and he's like so excited about it. Like it really is just a nice little like run through a bunch of different like heroes and villains to interact with as we get good banter from the characters. So if someone read this and said, yeah, it's a little hollow though, and I'm like, you know what, you're probably right. It is kind of just a saccharine sweet issue of nice character moments, but I kind of enjoyed it for what it was.
There's a low-key one that I enjoyed too, is that when Jessie Quick sees her husband, sees Rex, and greets him because she hasn't seen him in a while. That was another one that I thoroughly enjoyed. Oh no, Rick? Is he Rick? Who's Rex? Frickin' Rex. Those are the Hour Men. I always get them confused. But
I don't remember
she
which
hugs
one
her
it is.
husband.
Yeah,
she hugs her husband, and that was a really nice moment too. Like, again, you can tell that he cares. But yeah, the thunderclap moment with Power Girl. I thought that was a lot of fun. And same when we get into the bunker and Clarion the Witch Boy's there. And his magic doesn't work because, Wally remembered to use these sigils to stop him. I thought that was a lot of fun.
I kind of love that panel of Wally grinning as he's like explaining that he's got these from like his magic friends.
Yep.
I don't know, it's just something kind of like shit-eating grin about it that I kind of like. So yeah, it's just a really delightful time of like the family all going out and doing this together. So it's not really a tie-in. It's a tie-in in the sense that the reason that all these villains are out doing this is loosely, they say, oh, this is because Deathstroke's like army's out doing this stuff, but that it's like so loose. It's not really a tie-in. It's just an excuse to have them go around and interact with all these villains and heroes. But it's really delightful. Like, I really had a great time reading this. I'm probably only going to give it a 7 because I do admit that it's kind of hollow in the sense that there's not a lot of other things going on. There's not a lot of weight to it. But
I read this early and I forgot that I had read it, and so I went back to read it. Because I'm like, I remember starting it, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I read this in one go, and that's why I forgot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Although we should mention there is a tease for the future. There's a little voice that pops in at the end saying you aren't fast enough, Flash. What's coming for you? For the chaos, for the fraction, blah blah blah. It also says at the bottom, next month in the Flash, Wally becomes a pro wrestler.
Yep, I'm very excited.
So, good luck to that.
So I'm wondering if that voice that was talking to him has to do with the 60-second war.
Yeah, maybe they're teasing that. Yeah, maybe they're...
because that's why he's not fast enough to stop something.
Because that's starting in, November? December, maybe? I think maybe December. So we've got a couple of issues before we start that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we get, I'm drawing a blank. Linda.
Yes.
In her Flash costume. It's a pretty nice amalgamation of other heroes. It's got like a J style. A
lot of Jesse Quick vibes I got from it as well.
Jesse's goggles and stuff. So it looks pretty cool. And a teasing of a new name for Irie, which I'm excited for, because I like when they have to create new names.
Oh yeah, Maxine says because Maxine wants to help her pick a name. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So because she can't be Impulse because Bart's running around. So, and of course trying to figure out what that name's going to be. But I thought Thunderclap for Jay would be a good name too.
But he's the Surge.
He's
apparently.
Already Surge, yeah. But just him yelling, "You get a Thunderclap! You get a Thunderclap!"
That was funny. But the thing that gets me about the name the Surge is that sometimes when I say it, it sounds like I'm saying Serge.
Yeah.
Like the character Beverly Hills Cop or the lead singer of System of a Down.
Yeah, that's what I immediately went for. Not just Surge, but because I forgot Surge was a character in Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, he's the
tech guy.
Well, he's actually just like a clothes guy at first, I think. But then because technically he's still doing clothes stuff in the third one, but he's also making like a gun that has a microwave in it for some reason.
Yeah, because it's silly.
You don't say.
Yeah.
So I had a delightful time. I think the Flash book's not a must read, but if you want just a nice, delightful Wally book with his family, I'm enjoying it for what it is.
Anyone who says that they missed Wally while Barry was in the book, in the focus, you should be reading this, because we are getting some very good Wally moments. Yeah.
So, what are you giving it, Matt?
I'm gonna go with the 7, just like you said.
Yeah.
Because it's good. The Nahuelpan's art's pretty decent too, but yeah, it's kind of just there. It's like, I don't want to call it hollow because that seems real harsh.
Maybe that does seem a bit harsh. But it's dessert. It's just dessert.
Yeah.
Which is fine. If that's what it is, that's fine. So I actually really enjoyed it, but I'm only going to go with the 7 because of that. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, Batman Superman World's Finest, issue 7, Mark Waid writing with Dan Mora on the art. So this is the start of our new arc, and our possible sidekick for Superman being introduced, which I forgot that's what the premise of this was. Obviously, it starts off with what I thought was going to be like a version of Batman from another universe or something, because we start in Gotham, and it's very Krypton-esque, where you've got these two scientists putting their kid in a ship, and it's not a baby, he's a teenager, but sending him off before the planet explodes. But instead of going through space, he goes through a rift in the sky to the main DC universe. So that's the setup. Can I just say, obviously Dan Mora did skip an issue, took an issue off between arcs, so I'm so glad that he came back, because the first few pages are great, but it's that first page with Batman in the jet with the Top Gun style mask on, flying the bat plane. I was like, oh man, this just looks so good. It's like Mora just nails some of this stuff.
Is it Mora? Because it says, oh yeah, okay, they have him on the thing they had listed as Moore. So I got, for a hot second,
they must have done what? Is what more?
They have on the cover, it's Waid, Moore, and Bonvillian.
Oh, so I didn't even notice that. No, I mean, it looked like Mora, and then the credits page says Mora. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's why, as I was looking at there, and I was like, wait, no, I thought it was Dan Mora, but I'm seeing on the cover right now.
No, it's not. Yeah. You can tell by looking at it, it's Dan Mora. It looks like his art.
Yeah, you're right. The Top Gun page with Batman wearing the mask over it. I'm like, that looks cool.
Something about the way he draws the characters, but Batman, Superman, and Robin all look great in this book. Supergirl too when she's here, but she's not in this issue. So immediately the kid's freaking out. Obviously, they focus on Superman's reaction when he says that his world exploded and he's lost his parents. And they set up that this kid's powers, he basically releases energy, and it's similar to Superman in that it's the sun that's doing this, but he's not from a different planet like Superman is. He's from a universe where the sun's much colder, so the sun on this Earth is like making him super hot, basically.
Yeah. And there's that page where he starts to go off, and it looks like that famous Batman and Robin cover.
Yeah.
That was really clever.
Well, they're both pulling their capes for shielding. Yeah. So yeah, obviously they take him to the fortress ultimately, which Robin hops on for. Might we add?
He's riding on his shoulders like he's Jungle Boy, right? And he's yelling up, up, and away, and it's just again. So we know this is Dick Grayson now because they've they
established that
and stuff, and so this feels very Dick Grayson-y. So I'm glad. But with how they explain how he ended up there, it's this hyper time type stuff. And knowing what we know about Waid and the multiverse one shot that's coming out, I'm wondering if this is one of those books where this is where it starts to get seeded.
I mean,
it's this.
He already seeded what he's doing in Batman versus Robin in the first arc of this book. Maybe he's seeding something else in this one. Yeah,
and so, but I'm just saying, so like the stuff that's happening in Flashpoint Beyond is very much similar to this, where they talk about the hyper time breakoffs is what creates parallel dimensions versus multiverses and stuff. So Wade's already getting in there with this type of in-universe continuity, which I always appreciate. So
yeah, and Dick is flirting with a Kandorian inside the bottle, saying everything's bigger on Earth with a cheesy smile on his face. Give me a chuckle. But yeah, so Batman calls them, and says there's a situation, and basically we get to this idea that this is an alternate reality from where this kid's from, so his parents exist here, and we get this very sad scene where he tries to go and talk to these parents, and they don't know who he is, and they get really upset. And part of the reason why they get very upset is because they did have a son on this Earth, but he died when he was very young, and it's like he can't go over and talk to them now because it'll be too confusing for them. They've lost their son, and then they'll I mean, there is maybe a point where they'll eventually understand and maybe kind of accept this second chance of like raising this other version of their son. But obviously this opens an old wound. So you get this big full page spread of Superman hugging the character, and there's a great moment here between Batman and Superman where they're talking about it, and he says, "Imagine losing your parents twice in one day." And I kind of love that coming from Batman, because obviously Batman knows what it's like to lose his parents, but he doesn't know what it's like to lose them twice. At least not at this point. Maybe once Alfred's died, maybe you could argue that he's done it twice.
And at this point, Mom and Pa Kent are still around. I mean, he only really knows Jor-El, or Superman probably only knows Jor-El from a projection, right? So
yeah, so for as much as they can relate, there's also a lot of differences with what this kid's going through. So it's interesting.
And I like that Dick's over there just sitting with him, right, in the corner of the Batcave.
Well, Dick's ultimate plan to cheer him up at the end of the issue is he takes the Batcopter and flies him to Titan's Tower to meet the Teen Titans, and it's the Silver Age Teen Titans. It's Wally as Kid Flash, it's Aqualad, it's Wonder Girl, and
Roy.
Speedy. Speedy. I was going to say what names he got, because he's been Red Arrow, he's been Arsenal, he's been I can never remember when he had what name.
At this point, he's Speedy, the boy archer.
So no, I love that we're dealing with some Silver Age Titan stuff. The only real complaint I'd have is that I wasn't necessarily ready for it to be over, and there's a little epilogue scene, admittedly, but I was like, I could have used that. I thought there was going to be more, so which is maybe just a sign that I was enjoying it quite a bit, and I was into the introduction of this character. And basically it's not so much that the character himself is super interesting, but it's everyone else's reactions to what he's going through that's fascinating, and where Wade's really playing with stuff. The ending, though, we get a little epilogue where the villain here, it says Nick's the Keymaster of Gotham, and this guy does have keys on his fingers.
I'm pretty sure this is the key.
Is that just what he's called, the key?
Old school, yeah.
I think I've read some stories, maybe even on this show actually, in the early days. Maybe there was a key story.
Yeah.
I want to say it was in Titans. That sounds right.
Yep. So,
but yeah,
it looks like the key, but it looks like it's a new version because it looks like he's in Pan's Labyrinth. Dude can't grab the food. So
the question is though, will the gatekeeper also be in the issue?
yeah, should be.
Are you the keymaster?
I wish I knew those. He has a really funny line in Ghostbusters where he just goes on after he asks if he's the keymaster. Are you the gatekeeper? I wish I knew it off the top of my head. I don't.
Well, that was a thrilling reference to the film.
It's where Rick Moranis goes, if you know what I mean, at the end of that. Funny. I need to watch Ghostbusters again. It's been a while.
Yeah. So yeah, basically he's got someone enslaved who is dying of hunger and actually dies as he's reaching out to the food that he's put out for him. So it's a really dark scene. Yeah, I mean, obviously I've been digging this book. I think Waid's like killing it as far as like a very Silver Age style version of these characters go. I love all the inclusion of the other characters that it's bringing in and out. You know, the first arc had the Doom Patrol coming in and Supergirl. This arc seems to be having a bit of Teen Titans. So I'm really digging all that stuff. I love that this is a Batman with Robin constantly. Again, it feels like it's Waid's taste and the characters coming out. So, and obviously Dan Mora's art is fantastic. This looks phenomenal. Start to finish.
And it's the art in with the writing that makes it feel like a throwback, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because this does feel like a lost arc of some kind of, you know, the unremembered sidekick to Superman, Boy Thunder. So, and it really is the art that Mora's art with the clean lines and all that puts us in that era.
It feels modern as well. Like it doesn't actually look like a Silver Age book, but it sort of evokes a Silver Age book while still looking modern. Is the best way to put it. So yeah, and part of that may just be using the old costume designs and all the rest of it. You know, the coloring helping it a little bit. I mean, but
seeing Speedy with his Robin Hood hat instead of a ball cap.
Oh yeah,
nice move.
Yeah, I wonder what Jay would think of the Robin Hood hat. Is that better or worse than the ball cap to him?
It's part of the costume, I'm sure. So he'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. You're Robin Hood's sidekick. And that, I think that would be the line that would drive Roy nuts, because he hasn't been a sidekick for a while. You know?
No. So no, I had a good time with this. You know, I think up until this point I'd really liked or even really loved most of the books I read. Not to say that we're about to go downhill or anything, but I think this was the order I read them in, more or less. Like I think Flash and Batman Superman might have been swapped, but bizarrely I read them in the order we're talking about them today. So I'm just trying to say I had a really good week of comics, is what I'm trying to say. What are you rating World's Finest issue 7?
I'm going to give this an 8.5.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that score.
Dang.
I can't argue with it.
Yeah.
So, very good. Alright, Batman the Night, issue 9. Chip Zdarsky writing with Carmine Giandomenico on the art. And Anton is definitely Ghostmaker. Just just gonna say it. He's not taking the name yet. Although at one point someone says something about a ghost, and I thought, is that a seed? Is that the seed for what she's going to take the name?
And basically what we know about Ghostmaker, and that him and Bruce had this deal where, like, I'm not gonna stop you, but you can't set foot in Gotham. I feel like Chip's really building on that in this issue. You know, it shows that they are very similar, but that, you know, Bruce's integrity, or whatever you want to call it, to preserving life is what makes them different.
Yeah, Batman in his narration's constantly talking about how, like, he likes having him there as an ally, but he knows that it can't last because he's killed someone and that he's going to keep killing people.
Yeah.
But it's all about their search for Ra's al Ghul. They're off in the desert. Their truck, blows up. It's because it's sabotaged.
Yep.
All that stuff. But they get to Raz up the mountain, and all of his ninjas are there. Talia is there. Talia even flirts at one point with Bruce and tries to kiss him, and is disappointed when he rejects that, but wants to know something else, and is like, "Oh, you disrespect one part of me, but want another." So this is very much like Raz, and we have always known that Raz in some way was looking for some sort of successor with Bruce, and here his right hand man's retiring. We find out eventually, and that one of these two he wants to replace him. And he ultimately wants Bruce and Anton to fight, but Bruce is like, no, I'm not going to do that. Obviously, Anton's game for it. So the end of the issue, the cliffhanger, is that they're going to fight to see who becomes like Ra's al Ghul's next dude. So that's what it ultimately builds up to. But there's a lot of little things along the way. I love it calling back to that issue where I think it was the French thief who said, "The world doesn't need another angry cop. Think bigger." And there's a lot of like that idea going through Bruce's head where, like, what am I going to do when I get back to Gotham? Just hunt muggers, like, with my fighting skills? You know, so it's like kind of maybe for the first time he's starting to think about, okay, I have to be something more than just that. I have to be something bigger. I have to be something a bit more dramatic, you know. So it feels like those thoughts are starting to seep in, which is really interesting because to me, like, the learning to fight and stuff is cool and all, but it's like where the idea to form a persona, to form the Batman is like really fascinating to me.
Yeah, and I mean, it's called the Knight because these are all pieces of armor that he's going to put on. And you know, Batman is the Knight at that point, right? He's the fully formed, you know, with the principles that, you know, he's learned. There's a part in here where he talks about how the last guy taught him to, you know, control his pain, but couldn't teach him, you know, how to think, right? He told him how to not think and how to not, but he couldn't teach him how to go about things. And so I do like that Bruce still has to put some stuff together on his own, you know, and him noticing that Ra's al Ghul probably ain't the guy you want to emulate, you know, with his army of assassins. Is real cool. The look of Talia, I thought was weird because I haven't seen this, and I thought maybe this is just a throwback to her first appearance, which it kind of is. So, because I'm just used to her looking like the, you know, Bond villain, Bond girl type.
Yeah. Well, this is a young Talia, like it's a young Bruce, you know, makes sense.
Yeah, and so just her look threw me for a little bit, but that's also Giandomenico style. But I do like that it's, you know, this is Giandomenico's Talia that we're dealing with, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's the guy.
We also
it's the guy that they're going to replace that calls Ghostmaker Ghost. By the way, just wanted to mention that.
Gotcha. Yeah, Still was his name. But also the we find out the Ghostmaker's actual name, right? Which I would love to go back through the Tynan stuff because they kind of hint at it because it's not Anton. They say it at the end. It's drawing a blank. It's something Khan, I believe.
I thought you'd have had it ready since you wanted to bring it up, Matt.
No. I thought maybe you had the page open in front of you.
Mr. Minkoa Khan.
There you go. Because I remember in there his name like started with like an M. There was an M sound before it got cut off at one point. So, but yeah, no.
Does this mean Batman's going to yell out "Khan" at some point?
He does. I think he will at one point.
Yeah, maybe he will. But yeah, so there's a lot of build up to this. At one point, Raz even stabs Bruce in a sword match. Then Bruce patches himself up. Yeah. So I mean, definitely it feels like Ghostmaker might agree with what Raz is going to do a bit more, but clearly it doesn't stick with him. So we'll see how all this resolves in the next issue. Because
the still goes and shows him this barrage of rockets.
Yeah.
And that's where we get the hint that. Yeah, that Ra's al Ghul is about world peace, but you know, only world peace for him to be in control.
Yeah, I also wonder if he also rejects Ra's al Ghul for, you know, reasons of being too much of a villain as well, and
you
know. So I think it's interesting that this is where we're leading into with the finale, where it isn't going to come back and redo year one. I mean, maybe you'll sort of have like Bruce arriving in Gotham as the final page or something. And it's like, okay, now go read year one, because that's kind of where year one picks up.
I hope the final page is him landing on the airplane from when Alfred goes to pick him up. I think that would be cool.
That would be a neat little touch to sort of like say, hey, you can literally pair this with year one if you want, and then go from there. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the issue. I think the issue did peak with that issue in the forest where like the standoff happens.
The marksman. Yeah.
That was the peak of the book for me. But I mean, I'm still enjoying it. And I'm still enjoying it fleshing out Batman's, you know, Bruce's like time traveling where he trained to become Batman. You know, I'm enjoying what the concept of this book is. Ghostmaker still kind of sucks, but you know, that's okay.
I appreciate like Chip's Ra's al Ghul still has this grandiosity that we haven't seen in a while, right? Because Talia's been kind of the main al Ghul for the last couple years.
And it makes sense because it's early, you know, this is back before he was even fighting Batman, you know?
Yeah, and so I just liked him, you know, sitting in the throne room in, you know, kind of like a meditation, you know, surrounded by his guards. And it's a Ra's I haven't seen in a minute, so I do like that. Yeah, So no, it's fun. I'm glad I stuck with this because for that first issue was really rough, and I wasn't gonna stick with it. I ended up, and it's been a real fun ride.
No, cool. So yeah, obviously the art's the Giandomenico is pretty consistent with what he's been doing on the book. Obviously we get to see Raz and Talia, who are a little bit different and new to the book, so we get to see how he tackles them. I would say his angular lines really work with like the beard on Raz. Like, it really gives it this kind of pointy like feel to it, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it's been an enjoyable mini. I'm kind of glad it's ending as well, though. I'm ready for it to wrap up, but it has been a good time. What are you rating the Night issue 9?
I'm gonna give this an 8.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with a 7.5 for this one. Yeah. Just a little nudge down, but yeah. So there you go. DCeased, War of the Undead Gods, issue 2. Tom Taylor writing with Trevor Hairsine on the art. So we saw the tease, of course, of the new gods all succumbing to the zombie anti-life equation. But this issue, Big Barda and Mr. Miracle are returning to New Genesis after helping cure Earth to look for their son, only to find out that it is a zombie wasteland when they get there, which is really sad. And Barda loses most of her hand because she goes to go into like a corrupted boom tube, which we later find out are called doom tubes. I know, but only the dead and like the undead can pass through safely. Living people can't, which is why
I like that Black Racer comes out and stops her.
Yeah, well, because our hand that she put in like comes out and it's like just the skeleton. It's just her bones of her hand that's left. So I thought that was quite cool and fun. But the big thing of this issue, by and large, is that Darkseid and co are attacking Korrigar, and they're eventually going to go everywhere. But they're attacking Korrigar, and they send out a distress call, which obviously Sinestro and the Yellow Lanterns get. So they come in to try and protect. But Kyle Kyle Rayner, that is, thinks that they're attacking Korrigar, so he like jumps in and like blocks the blast and has a standoff with Sinestro before eventually bloody Darkseid rips Sinestro's head off when he shows up.
Sinestro cannot catch a break, man.
Yeah, like zombie Darkseid rips off Sinestro's head and then takes his lantern ring because it's like, hey, you can instill great fear. And he's like, of course I can. I'm Darkseid, bitch.
I'm zombie Darkseid. Yeah, and then oh man, yeah, the fact that we got that Kyle and Sornick are official on item here in this universe.
Yes, they are married.
Taylor, and that was his father-in-law. I thought that little piece of aggravation from Sinestro, I thoroughly enjoyed, because when he goes to launch, because he brings Warworld to Korrigar, because that's where the Sinestro Corps are basing themselves out of Warworld here to defend the home planet. And when he goes to launch the attack, Kyle stops it, and Sornick and the Green Lanterns, and him just being, oh, it's my daughter and her husband, just vibe was really good. And also we have manifested this, through this show. Tom Taylor getting Nightwing. When can we get Tom Taylor doing a Green Lantern book?
Oh, I saw you tweeting that, try to tweet this into existence.
Yep.
I mean,
I needs it.
When he's done with one of his runs, I would have no problem with him doing a Jessica Cruz book if I'm picking.
Just a rotating cast. If he wanted to do a rotating cast, cool. I miss reading Green Lantern. I'm
always going to pick Jessica, because Jessica's my favorite. Kyle's my second favorite. I'm always going to pick them first.
But even then, like, we all have our own favorites, and I know a guy book wouldn't be for everybody, and we've had plenty of Hal. So even a Kyle Tom Taylor book.
Well, you got a guy seen in this with him talking about how we shouldn't trust Brainiac, and he's rambling on, being because Brainiac says he's a 9th level intellect. He's like, oh, I bet the scale goes to 9. He's like, no, actually it goes to 13. And he's like, wait, you made up your own scale and only put yourself at 9? Well, in that case, I'm an 11 on my scale, and my scale only goes to 6, which shows how good I am.
Perfect Guy Gardner, perfect amount of dickishness. In there, and I did love that. But I also that's an understanding of Brainiac too, that he will assume 13th level at one point. right? Like,
Oh, sure.
he's always building to it, you know. So, but yeah, I did love that, and I love that Superman points out, you know, up until last week, I was part of the problem too.
Yeah.
Like, we have to keep hope, and I like that.
It gives Superman candor as a make good. It's like, hey, that's to show my intentions are honorable. Mm-hmm. Here's a, you know. Unluckily though, Zombie Supergirl is actually what sort of turns the tide with with Kyle and that. So we get like I said, we get Darkseid shows up, rips off Sinestro's head, who says, "Please, you have to, you know, save you have to save Corrigar, my dear daughter, please." And then his head gets ripped off. It is beautiful as far as the panel goes. And then you just have Darkseid, you know, holding the ring, and the final page is him in his new Yellow Lantern outfit.
You have the ability to instill great fear.
Of course he does.
Oof. Yeah.
Of course he does.
I'll never not pop for that though, because I just remember reading the John stuff, and when that ring went to Batman.
Oh yeah, that I always remember that part of the Green Lantern run, because it's just such a like. Of course he does. He's Batman.
Yeah, and it's like Bruce Wayne of Earth. You have the ability to instill great fear. So good.
Yeah, fantastic. No, I really enjoyed this issue. It's really tight and focused. I love that it breaks down into effectively just three simple things. It's the discovery of New Genesis with Barda and Scott. It's the conversation with Brainiac, and then the main thing is the Corrigar and Sinestro, and like the outcome of that. And you know, obviously, like the Green Lanterns have to scamper away because they can't fight this right now. They have to go and get reinforcements. But you know, I think I'm, you know, I love all the building blocks. I like that this one's a little bit longer than the previous minis to really build up the scope of it and the scale of it. So, I'm into it.
Well, and like, are we gonna get an undead planet like with Warworld? You know, like.
Well, that's a good point. Actually, now you've said that, yeah, because Sinestro was on Warworld.
Yeah. And
Supergirl puts the corrupted mother box. Onto it, and it takes over Warworld. So it seems like Warworld is now controlled by the Anti-Life or whatever. So, we got that going for us as well. I loved how Zombie Darkseid looks quite cool. I think the extra lines of like blood or whatever it is on his face just make him look especially like demonic.
Well, and I also like to think too, like to kind of like not to nerf him exactly, but I like the idea that when the fear and the will were put together, they were able to hold the Omega Sanction, or at least the zombie Omega Sanction, at bay until Supergirl, right, broke that line. So it did kind of show like, oh, he is there. You can't beat him with enough force, but he just has numbers.
Oh, so we have to go full Jeff Johns and have the entire Rainbow Corps together.
Not necessarily the Rainbow Corps, but just, you know, take Supergirl out of the equation, you know. But it's not just because I feel like the Omega Sanction normally that would have blew past that, right?
Sure,
like, So, but just the idea coming from Zombie, it's not as strong as it would have been. So,
yeah. So no, big stuff, big bombastic blockbuster stuff. Tom Taylor's writing and understanding of these characters makes everything just have an extra little bit. He clearly likes them all. Obviously, in the same week as his fantastic Nightwing issue comes out, this is the lesser of the two, but still extremely good, and I had a good time.
Yes.
So, what are you giving War of the Undead Gods issue 2?
I'm gonna give this let's go 7.5. It's still pretty good.
Oh, I was going to go with a nice solid 8 out of 10 from me. So there you go. That is DCeased, which will take us out of the part of the show where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel / moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and top 5 books. So let us start with panel / moment. Matt, what you got?
So I'm sure yours is going to be from Nightwing.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking what I think it's going to be, I'm going to go from a little bit before that, and it's when Babs starts laughing. Just the ha-ha-has behind her, you know, and her snapping Dick back to reality. That like, no, we're superheroes. We're always in danger. That's sweet of you to think that, but you know, I know what I'm getting into.
I mean, I am so tempted to take from the Flash, the Cass and Steph reacting to little Irie grilling out Damien, but yeah, you know, Nightwing and Oracle, Batgirl and Robin, Dick and Babs, always like it's hard not to take that. it hit me in
Yeah.
the feels. So
I read that last night. I'm like, there's Pete's moment. Unless he pulls something from another book. So
yeah. So cover of the week, Matt. What you got?
I gotta go back and look at the covers now because I went to next week.
Yeah, I've not really had a chance to look at the covers as of yet.
I'm gonna go with it's from Nightwing, and it's the Jamal Campbell.
Oh, the
variant.
romantic cover.
Yeah, it's super sweet. It's got Dick and Babs. So it just looks nice. I like Jamal Campbell a lot.
Yeah. I'm just looking through the covers just now because I've not had a chance to really yet. So I will say that I do also like that Nightwing cover. There's an Archerm Two-Face cover, which is cool.
There's a Christian Ward one too. Now that you brought up Two-Face, that I almost went with.
Yeah, but I think my pick is actually going to be a variant for World's Finest. There's a Middleton cover for World's Finest that I think looks quite nice.
Yeah.
I think what I like about it is the painted quality of it. It makes the fabric of the Batman and Superman outfits look kind of like the Superman 78 movie fabric. Like it almost looks like that type of like material. Plus it's this beautiful painted cover, and you've got the Gotham Metropolis at the bottom on either side of the statue.
Yeah.
So it's really nice.
That's almost a phone background on its own. If you take all the lettering off. That is pretty gorgeous.
So I think I have to go with that. There's a few good covers like sprinkled throughout some of the variants and whatnot though. So yeah, worth having a look through them if you haven't. So all right, best art of the week then, Matt.
All right, so it's down to Mora and Redondo. And do I want to give Nightwing the clean sweep, or do I want to mix it up a little bit? So that said, I really enjoyed Redondo, but Mora's clean lines, the throwback style, him drawing the Titans, just gives it a little bit of an edge. So I'm gonna go with Mora.
Okay. Yeah, good art this week, and I would agree that it's kind of between. But let's not discount Fernandez for the Two-Face book though, because that's fantastic. I am going to give it to Redondo because it was full of like sequences that I really loved this week. But we had a lot of good art this week, and your Hilpin wasn't slacking on Flash either. So worth mentioning. So yeah, so Nightwing Redondo for me. All right, top 5 books, Mac. On you go.
All right, so number 1's going to be Nightwing. 2's going to be Two-Face. 3's going to be World's Finest. 4's going to be The Knight, and 5's going to be Flash. Yeah, wait, no. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Okay. I can't remember what I gave the Flash. It was a 7 or 7.5, but either way, it's up there with DCeased in levels.
All right. My number 1 is Nightwing. My number 2 is Two-Face. My number 3 is World's Finest. My number 4 is DCeased. And my number 5 is The Flash. So there you go. That's my top 5. Which will let me tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics. So coming next week is Detective Comics 1064, Action Comics 1047, The Nice House in the Lake issue 10. It's been a little while.
Yep.
Been a little while. So I'm excited about that. By the way, if anyone's wondering what spurred on the idea of doing some non-DC books occasionally, Nice House in the Lake's basically what made me want to do it, because I'm like, the only reason why we're reading that book is because it's technically DC publishing it, and we could have been reading other teen and horror books, and we weren't.
True.
So I'm not making that mistake again.
True.
I'm not making that mistake again, because we've had such a good time talking about that book. So I'm looking forward to talking about Nice House in the Lake. Then we also have DC vs. Vampires issue 9, Batman Beyond the White Knight issue 5 is out, The Human Target issue 7. Oh baby, we have Nice House in the Lake and Human Target back next week. Are you kidding me?
I'm already calling it. That covers my cover of the week.
Human Target.
Smallwood.
Okay.
Oof, I love it.
Then we got Harley Quinn 22, Deathstroke Inc. issue 13, Tim Drake Robin issue 1, which I know that Connor's going to be forced to read.
Yes.
So when he catches up on his Patreon books, and he will be soon, I promise everyone. We have Sandman Universe Nightmare Country issue 6, Batman Fortress issue 5, Superman Space Age issue 2. Not that you'll have time for a 80-page book after all these other books.
Nope.
DC Horror presents Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead issue. I need to try that.
Yeah.
It's a busy week, but I need to try that.
I'm for sure. I'm not reading Space Age because I'm also going to be on vacation. So I'm not gonna have time, but I will make time for Sergeant Rock for sure.
Yeah, you're back for the show. You're just on vacation.
Yeah, I'm back for the show. I just
Yeah.
don't know if I'm gonna have time to read a 80-page Mark Russell Superman book as much as I would love to.
Do you know what? I didn't read DC Mech last month, and I'm so glad I didn't, because DC Mech's out next week, and I'm glad I didn't, because with Human Target back, Nexus in the Lake back, the Sergeant Rock book that I need to read by Bruce Campbell, there's a lot to read next week. So just to wrap up this list, DC Mech issue 3, Justice League versus the Legion of Superheroes issue 6.
That's still a thing.
I know, yeah. And Batman: The Audio Adventures issue 1. Which is a curious little book on its own, actually.
Yeah. So it picks up where the Audio Adventures left off. So.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, that I remember seeing that on thing. So I would love to listen to those, and then read this book, because I'm sure it's fun. But yeah. So out of those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6. But on vacation, it's going to be a tough thing. I'll get it done though.
Yeah. But that's cool. Next week's actually really exciting for books. I didn't realize how good this next week was. This week was great as well. So nice back half of the month, or whatever it is, for DC. So look forward to the reviews of the ones we're reading of those next week. Of course, you can support all the content by going over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and support us monthly over there. You get early access to the show at the $5 tier and up. You get it late on the Saturday whenever I'm done with it, versus waiting to the Sunday. So if that's of interest, for people in the UK in like earlier time zones, it basically means it's there Sunday morning for you, as opposed to waiting until Sunday night. But if that's of interest, go and have a look and help support the show and the content. Get us on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast, and of course rate the podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. Share us around to your comic book reading friends and things. All of these things do help. But that is basically the show. Oh, thank our Patreon producers. Thank you to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Short, Borden, Christopher Moy, David Brown, Al Treisman, and Alison M. Fordyce. Thank you all for supporting the show and all of the content that we make. But there you go. That is episode 3 to 4.
Sure.
I think that's what we're on. I said it right at the start. If I'm wrong now, then that's okay. But thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.